shepherd.
Yes.
To the congregation of Christ. I want to welcome you and bless you and greet you in the name of Jesus.
Yes. Hallelujah.
Thank you, Jesus.
Yes, I went through the hymn book and I just couldn't come up with a hymn.
Yes.
So I decided to hum.
Yes.
It is not real.
Yes.
And I'm sure by now Auntie Grace would have gone into her phone and she would have reached Chase Bank. And I've checked through her accounts to see where and when he bought that thing around his neck.
Take your time. Take your time. It is not real.
Walk.
How much he paid for it.
Yes. Take your time.
You see, when I got the topic, this is the first thing that got to my mind.
Yes.
The focal point of our conversation today is
Not real.
Come on, walk.
Take your time.
and while she went through her account, she must have seen that I might have gone to Bobby's.
Take your time. Take your time.
Because
It's not real. It is not real.
it is not real.
Take your time. Hallelujah. It is not real. Take your time. Take your time. It is not real.
It is not real, Sister Roberta.
Yes.
Thank you, Lord.
It looks real.
It may look real.
Take your time, Lena. But it's not real.
It may be shiny.
Yes.
And all the glitter may show and everything may look out like if it is real.
Take your time. But it's not
But it
real.
is not real.
Take your time.
Because in the world of precious and semi-precious metals and stones,
Yes.
there are a few characteristics that must be intact
Yes. For it to be real.
Go ahead.
for it to be real.
Thank you. Holy.
And many experts and many those who are really versed in the field may just look at it at first glance and tell you, no,
That don't mean
something is sitting right
read it
about.
up. Yes.
It is not real.
Oh.
I remember for a few years, a lot of years ago I should say, when I first came to the United States, in the streets of Brooklyn where we lived, a young man came to me and said, listen, you want to buy some jewelry? And I looked at it, I scraped it on the street. I said, okay, this is good. That's what I wanted. Only to find out a few days after it started to turn green.
Oh.
So what?
It's not real.
It is not real.
Yes.
And I became very disappointed,
Yes.
beloved. For I did not take the time to take it to a point pawn shop or somewhere where I know there was an expert to tell me, sir, give that back to that young man for this, what you have here in your hand. It is not real.
Test it. Go ahead.
For a substance like gold, sometimes it has to go through the fire.
Yes.
I want to go through that in a little while.
Yes.
But at a certain point in time in man's life, between the 14th and 17th century, there was a period called the Renaissance.
Yes.
Where there was a resurgence, where everything, there was a revitality of art, sculpture, architecture, and certain masters of the art like Michelangelo, Pablo Picasso, Claude Monet rose up from the Renaissance period because of their mastery.
Yes.
Places like the Chateau de Chambord in France, paintings like the Mona Lisa have become priceless.
Yes.
Because they are rare, because of the amount of man time that went into these masterpieces.
Yes.
Even in the world of music,
Yes.
which have now, because of the Renaissance, the bourgeoisie class has erupted. And I spoke to Sister Rebota about this, and
Go ahead.
she told me that, like in the carnival season, there are certain carnival fetes that only few are invited.
Yeah.
And that goes because of your class and because of your
Of course,
money.
of course, of course.
And it's called some all-inclusive system?
Yeah.
Yes.
Black Bang. Go ahead, talk with me.
And the riff-raps like me, I'm not invited because my money, it's not able to come up to that level.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's way above my pay grade
Yes.
class. Even in the world of fashion, clothes, sneakers, watches such as Rolex has been there. Because they are real. A certain amount of energy and time is put into making of certain things like a Rolex. Let's go into the world of pocketbooks. You look around and you see a lot of women adorning their shoulders, and their arms, and their
Clutches.
holding their clutch purses.
Yes.
When you look at the names, before I go any further, I want to say good evening to Mrs. Drake.
Thank you.
No, that is real.
Yes, it's real. That is real.
I'm sorry I couldn't make it to your function. I had promised the lady that I was going to be at the master ceremony in her function months and months before. But my heart was with you. I tried to hurry to come back. But it was all in vain. But God be with you. And I understand that I understand why Mr. Drake isn't here after consummation that happens. Ladies and gentlemen. Blessed kings. That is real.
It is real. Take your time.
Anyway, let's go back into the world of pocketbooks.
Yes.
You look around and you see a lot of women adorning their bodies with names like
Take your time.
Louis, Gucci, Fendi, and there's a one that's really ruling the block these days called Michael Hernandez, is it? Oh, I'm sorry, Michael Kors. Michael Kors. And a lot of women, a lot of people are the experts. They can just look at it. They can't tell you A for apple, B for bat.
Yes.
but they can just look at the pocketbook and tell you it is not real.
Yes.
That's from Chinatown. Go ahead and get it.
I'm coming to Chinatown in a little while. There's a story. There's a story. And I want to tell stories because Sister Grace, she likes stories like Joel Osteen. He's a good storyteller, so I'm going to tell stories. So that when we go home tonight, she's going to cook me a nice dinner.
Yes. Because that is real.
That is real.
Yes.
Right, Teacher Views? There is a story of a young man. He kept asking his sister, when are you going to go out? When am I going to go out with you? And she said, okay, I'm going to take you. We're going to Chinatown. They did go to Chinatown. And when he came back, he ran straight to his mother and said, Mommy, I'm not going anywhere with Shanice again. Because she took me to Chinatown and we met a lady on the street. The lady took us into a dungeon looking like thing in the basement.
Go ahead.
And there was a whole bunch of pocketbooks there.
Oh.
Is it real?
Is it you?
Is it real?
And now the government has done where not only the seller but the buyer will be arrested if they purchase the fake pocketbooks. Is it real? There's a friend of mine named Mr. Dominic Duggan. He was an ex-police officer, and there was a gentleman going around selling these pocketbooks. He bought one and he took it to his wife. It developed a little tear in it, so she said, honey, let's go to the Gucci dealer so we can repair it. He did not tell her that it's not real.
Yeah, take your time.
And so they stood on the line, and when they got to the head of the line, the lady said, Miss, I cannot fix this for you. So she said, why? Because it is not real. And the wife got so vexed. They went home and it was a huge argument on the way home. And she took the pocketbook while the car was moving and flung it out of the car. It is not real.
It is not real.
So I'm praying to God that those pocketbooks that I bought for Sister Grace, it's not going to develop any kind of tear. So she has to tear.
Oh my God.
It is not real.
It is not real.
Yes.
Money, a medium of exchange, a method of payment, so valuable in the world today that in order to retain the value of money, a country has the amount of gold to back the money.
Yes.
And so many counterfeiters have developed the art of making false money
Yes.
in order to get by. And so machines are made. You go to the cashier and you see them with a brown pen scratching the money to see and determine one thing, to determine if it is real.
Yes.
There is a term that comes out, the real McCoy. The real McCoy comes from the McCoy and the Hatfields fan in Kentucky and West Virginia. And it stems in the world of boxing, in the world of whiskey,
Yes.
in the time of prohibition,
Yes.
when there was a boxer named Norman Selby who went by the name Kid McCoy. He went to a bar one day and a drunk went up to him and said, "Who are you?" And after Mr. Selby cat sprawled him on the floor, when the man woke up, he said, "Yes, I have met the real McCoy."
Yes.
And in the time when the 14 years when it was illegal to transfer alcohol from state to state, there was a man by the name of Bill McCoy who was famous for not watering down his whiskey. And if you wanted the real thing, the real McCoy, people would request that they got their whiskey from Mr. McCoy, the real McCoy.
Yeah.
I want to bring us to the church.
Yes. Thank you, Lord.
Holy.
Thank you, Lord.
And sometimes, I don't know, maybe you have not experienced this. I'm pretty sure you haven't. A sister or a brother get up in manifestation.
Yes. Take your time.
Talking to Sister Laura. But no, I see Sister Bellamy and I ain't talking to Sister Bellamy. Is it real?
Not real. Take your time. Not real. Not real.
Is it real?
Ah.
And as we look at 3 Jewish boys,
Come on now.
when King Nebuchadnezzar from Babylon took Jerusalem,
Yes.
and he decided that I'm going to take the fairest of all the children,
Yeah.
those without spot and those without blemish.
Yes.
I'm going to feed them my food, and I'm going to feed them my wine.
Yes.
And at a certain time, he built a golden statue. And the decree was laid out that whenever a certain time of day
Yes.
and a certain time of music started playing,
Yeah.
Jesus,
Yes. Hallelujah.
you are to bow down before the golden statue.
Ah.
Oh, Jerusalem.
Go ahead.
It became known to Nebuchadnezzar through his eyes and ears that there were 3 Jewish boys. Yeah.
Yes.
They were only serving their God.
The true and the living God.
Because their God
Is that being God?
was the real and the true and the living God. We see that.
Yes.
Oh, Jerusalem. And Nebuchadnezzar decided, send them to me.
Yes.
I have heard that you have blatantly refused and disregarded my order,
Yes.
that you are to bow before the statue that I have made.
Yes.
And their reply was, King, we are not careful to answer you this evening.
No.
For the God we serve is a true and He's a living God. And my question to you is, which God are you serving?
Ah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Whoever did not bow to the statue was to be thrown
The dead alive.
into the fiery furnace.
Ah.
Nebuchadnezzar decided that I have to set an example. I'm going to make the fire 7 times hotter than it normally is.
Whoa, what a time.
And while it was done in his, it is said that in the book of Daniel that
Yes.
those that tended the fire became consumed and they perished.
Yes.
And when these boys were thrown into the fire, Nebuchadnezzar himself looked into the fiery furnace
Yes.
and asked the question, did we not throw 3 guys, 3 boys into the furnace?
I mean, look.
Hey, but I'm seeing the 4th one,
Yes.
and the 4th one looked like he's the Son of God.
Yes.
Which God are we serving this evening?
Hallelujah.
Are we to serve the golden statue?
Oh.
For it is not real.
Yes. Thank you.
There was a man called Daniel.
Yes.
Now mind you, these guys, their names were changed from the original Jewish names
To Babylonians.
to the Babylonian name. Now Daniel was known as Belteshazzar at that time.
Yes.
And his co-workers, I should put it.
Yes.
Sometimes you're going to be careful of your co-workers.
Aha.
Because they may grin
Yes.
and skin
With you.
and eat and dine
Yes.
and drink
Yes.
and sup with you.
Yes.
But my question is it real, Sister Carly?
Are they real to you? Ah.
Is it
I
real?
feel that.
Is it real this evening?
Hallelujah.
And as they went to King Darius now
Yes.
and said, King, pass a law
Yes.
that for the next 30 days no one cannot worship no other God but our God.
Yes.
For they know what Daniel was doing.
Yes.
They knew.
Of course.
And Daniel,
And you knew. Hallelujah.
he continued praising his Jesus.
Yes.
Morning,
Noon and night.
noon,
And night.
and night, 3 times a day, he praised his God.
Hallelujah.
And they looked at him and went back to Darius, and Darius called Daniel. Eventually, to cut a long story short, he threw him into the den of lions.
Wow.
The king Darius couldn't sleep,
No.
uneasy the night, because he knew what he did was a wrong thing.
Yes.
The morning he walked straight to the den of lions and he called out, and Daniel answered.
Yes.
For the God, the true and ever-living God, had closed the mouth of the lions to see.
Yes. Only.
Which God? How is it?
Survey. Ah.
Is it real?
Oh, no.
Is it real when a man goes on dry land and builds an ark
Ah.
and wait and wait and wait? God is in infinite mercy.
Yes.
Proves that sometimes we are not crazy.
No.
Is it real that when a man who stays in a pool for 38 years,
Ah.
withered and impotent?
Yes.
Is it real that when the true and the ever-living God comes and singles him out and says, do you wish to be made whole?
Yes.
Sometimes we are so complacent and we become so happy within ourselves with our degradation and in our state of decadence that sometimes we question when our breakthrough comes. And we ask the question, is it real? Is it real that when after 38 years, when the stirring of the water, that a man named Jesus comes to take me to the water, and every time I get up and try to make it, someone beats me to the punch.
Is it real?
Is it real this evening? Is it real that when someone, sometimes, have you ever experienced this? You go somewhere and you're looking good, you know it?
Yeah.
And someone says, oh my God, Sister Laura, you're looking good. Brother Sherwin, you're looking good.
Yeah.
And you say, oh my God, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
But you know deep down inside,
No.
your pocket empty.
Yeah.
And you know deep down inside that home, that your pot, there's nothing to cook.
Yeah.
You know that when Sunday comes, you're going to put some water, some oil on the fire to heat up, and throw some water into the oil just to make that noise so the neighbor would think that you're cooking.
Take your time. It Exactly.
Is it real?
Ah.
Is it real that when you're down to your last dollar? Is it real that when husbands and wives are at their homes in the middle of the night and wondering where my husband or where my wife is?
Yeah. Is it real?
Is it real? Is it real when you don't know where your children are?
Ah.
There's an ad on the TV that says it's 10 o'clock. Do you know
Your children are.
where your children are?
Ah.
Their parents who don't even know.
Where they are.
Because they might be running with the gangs
Yes.
and the drug leaders or whatever may have you. The book of John says in the 3rd chapter, verse 27, 3rd chapter, verse 27 says, a man can receive nothing except it be given him from heaven. No man can take it away from you, beloved. They may slow you up. They may slow you down.
Yes.
They may keep you back for a little while.
Yes.
It's not real.
No.
God has it for you.
Yes.
And that's for you.
Yes, of course.
John 4:44 says, for Jesus himself testified that a prophet had no honor in his own country,
Yes.
being shepherd.
Yes.
Taking it pipe and smoking.
Yes. Hallelujah. That is real.
In the world today, we have many. Sometimes, in order to come to an agreement, you can just come to a handshake.
Yeah.
We can draw up contracts,
Yes.
as in marriages. But sometimes, or when things go bad, we can just go to a lawyer. And he can just, there are ways that you can just squash everything and it becomes nothing. There was an old Jewish tradition that they give the bride some salt, they give the groom some salt, then they would put it all together, shake it up. Okay, you take your share and you take your share. Alright, when it's time to go, okay, divide the salt. You take your salt and I take my salt. But it's already mixed up.
Yes. It's up.
But today, God has found a way to show that He is real.
Yes.
For He sent His Son.
Hallelujah.
His Son Jesus to come and die for us. So the Son Jesus had come shed His blood, the efficacious blood on a cross called Calvary.
Yeah.
In a place called Golgotha, on a wooden cross, on a dump. He shed His blood. And blood is even more powerful than a handshake. It's more powerful than a contract, beloved. Because it is true. That blood is real.
Yes.
And the power of God, is the power of God real?
Holy.
Is God real, Mr. Steve?
Yes. Holy.
We look at the book of Genesis and it begins with a great and a long crescendo when it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and God created the earth.
Yes.
Show me anyone here that can do that. Show me anyone here that can walk on water.
No. Holy.
It's taken from this Bible. Listen to what they say about this Bible. Oh my God. Go ahead. This Bible is not an amulet. It is not a charm. It is not a fetish or a book that will work wonders by its very presence. But it's a book that will work wonders in every life here and hereafter if acted upon and obeyed to. Oh my God, I can't see.
Give the word.
It is God-inspired revelation of the origin and destiny of all things. It is written in most simple human language, possible so that most understand. Oh my God, beloved, I'm sorry. Maybe another day, another time.
Yes.
The devil is alive.
A liar. Only in a way. Take your time.
But once there's life, there is
Yes.
hope.
Only.
So we can go a long way on hope.
Yes.
We can go a long way on faith.
It's real.
And for faith is real, like my sister just said a little while ago about faith.
Yes.
About her faith in God, it is real. And about her revelation in